Question: what is reincarnation? Does it conform in any way to the teachings of Islam? Reincarnation refers to the transmigration of souls, the doctrine that after death, the soul moves on to inhabit another body, then die again, and then another body, and so on. Of course, it is not an Islamic doctrine. Belief in some form of this doctrine of endless cycles of birth, death, and rebirth can be found in almost all societies, primitive or sophisticated. Variations in it exist according to the local and regional differences in faith and popular culture. In the most materialistic societies, especially, whose formal culture denies spiritual life, there is almost a fashion for pseudo-religious belief among certain small circles of people who claim, whether as a joke or seriously, it is not clear, that the spirits of the dead wander about, sometimes taking physical form, and can influence the living until they settle into their new bodies. It would be impractical here to go into the details of the different forms and fashions of this doctrine. More worthwhile, perhaps, would be to describe the main substance of it and to see it from the Islamic viewpoint. One argument for the antiquity of the doctrines of reincarnation is the evidence in ancient literature in the tales of metamorphosis. For example, Ovid's colorful extravagancies of that name, in which gods take on human and animal forms, humans take on a diversity of different shapes. But these tales do not constitute a doctrine. The doctrine proper is not to do with simply colorful change of form, but with a belief that an individual soul must pass through every level of creation, every species of life form, animate or inanimate, sentient or insentient. If we reflect upon this, we soon realize that the doctrine is really a strange elaboration on the immortality of the soul. In other words, the kernel of it is in the intuition that the soul is immortal. That kernel is true, the rest is not. The doctrine may also have arisen from the observation of the likeness in physical and other traits between parents and offspring. In other words, the biological phenomena of heredity, perfectly intelligibly explained by the laws of genetics, are given a less intelligible, indeed, own right, irrational explanation by the doctrine of reincarnation. The doctrine is said to have emerged in the Nile Basin, spreading thence to other regions and peoples, to India, for example, and back west from thence to Greece. There, the eloquence of the philosophers rationalized it into a source of consolation and hope for people who, as do all people, longed for eternity. Among the major religions, the doctrine was initially infiltrated into Judaism by the Kabbalists and by the contrivance of Jewish thinkers into Christianity, and finally into the ideas of some Sufis, despite the hard labors of Muslim theologians to refute such a distortion. To support it, every apologist for the doctrine put forward some evidence. For instance, the Kabbalists mention the transformation of Niobe, mentioned in the Old Testament, into a marble sculpture, and of the wife of the prophet Lot into a statue made of dust, and others have referred to a literal transformation of Jews into monkeys and pigs. Another argument explains instinct and intelligence in animals, and the splendors of the plant kingdom, as once human intelligence and vitality which had entered into them. The idea debases humanity and shames its proponents. It is really difficult to accept that such an assertion, even if it made on the spur of the moment, could be made by people of any understanding. Certainly, It is beyond doubt that there is a program and a predetermined destiny for plants and inanimate creation. But it is rather far-fetched to trace the harmony and order we see in the plant or mineral kingdom to souls which formerly lived as or in human beings. Actually, plants and trees have a certain life, a plant life, a direction of growth towards light and moisture. But this does not mean that this is the activity of the soul of a human soul cast down, or a soul on its way up the levels of creation. Despite efforts to corroborate this, no one has ever received any message from a plant form confirming that it contains a soul that once belonged to a human being, nor have we heard any account from a human being that he or she was once the soul of a plant or animal. True, there have been claims, spread about by tabloids and other such media, of people recollecting past lives, even recounting incidents from their past lives. Where these claims are not totally absurd and ridiculous ravings, their substance can easily be explained as recollections of what the individual has seen or read, and then, knowingly or otherwise, elaborated and transformed as in any ordinary human fiction. The fact that Niobe and the wife of the prophet Lot were transformed into sculptures of marble or dust respectively, even if accepted literally, are neither an instance nor evidence of reincarnation. What we have in this case is a transformation of a physical kind. It has nothing to do with transmigration of the soul. As for petrified bodies, that is not an arcane phenomenon. Just such corpses have been found in considerable numbers, preserved by the absolute dryness of volcanic ashes. Pompeii was destroyed by a sudden volcanic eruption and remained buried under the ashes of Vesuvius for hundreds of years. The excavations performed there revealed numerous Niobe-like petrified bodies. In these ruins and in the petrified faces and bodies, so busy in their self-indulgent vices, so secure in their arrogance, we can, if we wish, read the signs of divine wrath and punishment. Perhaps these figures had their way of life solidified in ash and so preserved, so that future generations might witness and take heed. To interpret them as evidence of reincarnation is simply untenable. Belief in reincarnation in Egypt, India, and Greece, developed as a result of distortion of once sound beliefs in the hereafter, and from a longing for the immortality of the soul. Neither in Aten's Egypt, nor in Pythagoras' Greece, did anyone know of the reincarnation which these distorted beliefs brought about. To Aten, when man's life ends in this world, a different one starts in heaven. As soon as one dies, one's soul sets off on its journey to reach the greatest court in heaven. It goes so high that it reaches to the presence of Osiris and hopes to give an account of itself in words like these: I have come to your presence, as I was free from sins, and throughout my life I did do everything I could that would make me devout, men pleased. I did not shed blood, nor did I steal. Neither did I make mischief, nor did I mean any. I did not commit any adultery nor fornication whatever.